Iran just fired a K-bar Shakan ballistic missile at the most classified address in Israel, a secret underground command bunker buried beneath a luxury apartment tower in the heart of Tel Aviv, built with American money, shielded from electromagnetic attack, and designed to keep running even if everything above ground goes dark. The moment the missile landed, Israeli police sealed the entire area. Cameras were physically pushed back. The military censor issued a restriction order. No footage was allowed. No coordinates were published. And the satellite imagery of that exact block, on both Google Maps and Russia's Yandex, remains blurred to this day. That bunker is real. Its name is Site 81. It sits beneath a 42-story apartment tower on Leonardo da Vinci Street in Tel Aviv's Hakirya district, the same compound housing Israel's Ministry of Defense, its military general staff, and the deeper underground nerve center known as the Fortress of Zion. IDF officers have been living inside that bunker around the clock since this war began, planning every strike on Iran from beneath the city they are defending. And Iran has been targeting that exact address since June 2025. In the next few minutes, I am going to show you what is actually buried under central Tel Aviv, what Iran's missile did and did not hit, and why Israel's response to this strike tells you more than any damage assessment ever could. Quick, before we continue, thanks a lot for tuning in. Your support is what keeps this show going, and I genuinely appreciate you being here. Please make sure you are subscribed and like the video so more people get to see what is actually happening. Now let's get into it. Here is what we know. On March 2nd, 2026, 4 days into Operation True Promise 4, the IRGC's Public Relations Department posted a statement on Telegram claiming that K-bar missiles had struck Netanyahu's office and the headquarters of Israel's Air Force commander in what it called a targeted and surprise attack during the 10th wave. Netanyahu's office called it fake news. His office released photographs of him alive and at meetings. He appeared publicly at missile impact sites in the days that followed. But the claim about Netanyahu's office was only the surface layer of this story. Beneath it sits a question that no Israeli official has answered, and no journalist has been permitted to fully investigate, because what Iran is actually targeting, and what it has been targeting in this neighborhood since June 2025, is not Netanyahu's office. It is what sits underneath it. Iran launched 9 missile barrages at Israel between March 8th and March 9th alone. Israeli media and on-the-ground journalists reported that ballistic missiles with cluster munition warheads impacted 7 separate locations inside Israel during that window. The Alma Research and Education Center confirmed that the high concentration of strikes on the Tel Aviv area, home to approximately 4 million Israelis, indicated a deliberate focus on population centers and on Israel's main command and economic infrastructure. Since the war began on February 28th, 12 Israeli civilians have been killed and more than 1,900 injured. More than 3,000 residents have been forced to leave their homes. Most people assume Iran is firing blindly at Israeli cities, hoping to create chaos. In reality, Iran has been mapping a specific target inside Tel Aviv for over a year, and what it found beneath that city would surprise most people who think they understand Israel's military architecture. Site 81 is a joint American-Israeli underground intelligence command center buried beneath the Da Vinci Towers apartment complex on Leonardo da Vinci Street in Tel Aviv's Hakirya district. Its existence was not publicly confirmed until a geolocation investigation published in October 2025 cross-referenced leaked emails, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers contracting records, and satellite imagery to pinpoint its location. Here is what the public record shows. A 2013 U.S. Army Corps of Engineers report documented plans to expand Site 81 to 6,000 square meters of electromagnetically shielded underground space, designed to survive electronic warfare attacks and maintain secure communications even if every system above ground is destroyed. A final payment of $758,461 to the American construction firm, Oxford Federal, for Phase 2 work on Site 81 was processed on February 26, 2019. Leaked emails from a former Israeli Chief of General Staff confirmed that Site 81 functions as a military command and control node. In 2015, a correspondence involving a senior NATO commander referenced a U.S. company called Think Logical, which had won a big contract out at Site 81 with the IDF. This is not a rumor. These are public contracting records and leaked official correspondence, connected to Site 81 and built directly beneath the Hakirya military headquarters, is a second and even deeper installation, the Fortress of Zion. It is a circa 2019 extension of an older command center called the Pit. Journalists from Israel Hayom and the New York Times have both been permitted inside the Fortress of Zion, but neither was allowed to publish its precise location or entrance. The New York Times described roughly 70 people sitting at multiple levels facing wall-mounted screens tracking live strikes. During this current war, thousands of soldiers are working there around the clock. IDF officers confirmed this directly. In interviews published by Mariv, 3 officers from the IDF General Staff's Operations Directorate described spending months inside the Hakirya bunker planning this war. Living double lives, going home to appear normal while handling the most classified targeting decisions in the country's history. One officer said she learned the exact timing of the February 28th strike only at a very late stage. Another described what he called an extraordinary pace of strikes being coordinated from inside that underground command structure. Stay with me, because what Iran knew about this facility, when it knew it, and what its missiles actually did to the surface above it, is the story that Israel does not want told. Most people think the Hakirya is simply Israel's version of the Pentagon, a heavily guarded above-ground military compound in central Tel Aviv. In reality, the most operationally critical part of the Hakirya has been underground for years, shielded from electromagnetic attack, buried deep enough to survive conventional strikes above it, and hidden from public knowledge beneath a 42-story luxury residential tower whose residents had no idea what sat beneath their building. One resident, speaking to Israeli media after the June 2025 strikes, described learning the truth from a neighbor who said, "Brother, don't you get that they approved the construction of all those towers to protect the Hakirya?" His response, "Today I realize I've been paying 12,000 shekels a month to protect the Hakirya." That resident was not speaking metaphorically. The Da Vinci towers were built over what was previously a Ministry of Defense site purchased in 2015 for NIS $830 million, roughly $207 million. The tenants living above Site 81 were, knowingly or not, the human architecture of Israel's most sensitive intelligence installation. Iran geolocated this. Iran mapped this. And then Iran fired at it. That is not a coincidence. That is a targeting operation that began long before February 28, 2026. Drop your thoughts in the comments before we keep going. Did you know this bunker existed beneath central Tel Aviv? Do you think Iran's targeting of underground command infrastructure changes the nature of this war? Let me know. And if you have not subscribed yet, hit that button now so you don't miss what comes next. This is not the first time Iran targeted the Da Vinci complex. It is the second. And the way Israel responded to the first strike is the most important part of this story. On June 13, 2025, during what became known as the 12-day war between Iran and Israel, Iranian ballistic missiles struck the north tower of the Da Vinci apartment complex in central Tel Aviv. Fox News correspondent Trey Yingst was reporting live from the Hakirya area when it happened. He stated on air, "This is Israel's version of the Pentagon. The building on this compound was just hit." Israeli police arrived immediately and physically pushed Yingst away from his position north of the Hakirya bridge. The area was sealed. Cameras were blocked. No casualties inside the Hakirya compound were confirmed, but nearby civilian areas sustained damage, and at least 5 people were injured by shrapnel. The Jerusalem Post later reported that the missile had landed, and I am using their framing, a stone's throw from Netanyahu's office, which at the time was known as Building 22. Weeks after that war ended, the Prime Minister's office began undergoing renovations. The reason for those renovations was never officially explained. The building was subsequently renamed the Shimon Peres House. To this day, neither Israel's government nor its military has confirmed or denied whether the structure sustained damage in the June strike. France 24 conducted an analysis of Israeli media coverage after the Da Vinci strike and concluded that reporting had been deliberately delayed. Haaretz, one of Israel's major newspapers, waited a full 2 weeks before publishing anything about the hit, even though images of the strike had already been circulating online. France 24's journalists wrote directly, "It looks like censorship is at play. Google Maps does not offer street view of the section of Leonardo da Vinci Street directly in front of the Da Vinci Towers. Russia's Yandex Maps has censored both satellite imagery and metadata of the Da Vinci complex entirely. The Federation of American Scientists published documented evidence of Israeli censorship and forgery of satellite imagery data surrounding its military bases as far back as 2018. Iran struck this address in June 2025. Israel sealed it, censored it, and renovated it. And then, in March 2026, Iran came back. The missile Iran claims it used against the Hakirya bunker zone is the Khaybar Sheikhan. And understanding what this weapon actually does explains why targeting an underground facility with it is not as far-fetched as it might initially sound. The Khaybar Sheikhan is Iran's most modern operational medium-range ballistic missile. Its name translates from Arabic as Breaker of Khyber, a reference to a 7th century battle. It belongs to the 4th generation of the Khorramshahr missile family. Its range is 1,450 kilometers, putting all of Israel well within reach from deep inside Iranian territory. Its warhead weighs 550 kilograms. It is a solid fuel system, which means it can be moved, hidden, and launched from dispersed positions, dramatically reducing the window available for Israel and the United States to destroy it before launch. And it is equipped with satellite-aided guidance and a maneuverable warhead design, a combination that tightens its accuracy while adding uncertainty to where the interceptor needs to meet it in the terminal phase. Analysts at Army Recognition noted that Iran is deliberately blurring missile identities in its public statements, sometimes calling the weapon Khaybar, sometimes Khaybar Sheikhan, sometimes framing it as hypersonic to complicate attribution, amplify deterrence perception, and force Israeli and American analysts into worst-case planning assumptions. Without debris identification or independent battle damage assessment, the specific variant used in any individual wave cannot be confirmed from the outside. That ambiguity is not accidental. It is engineered. What the Khaybar Sheikhan cannot do, at least not in its confirmed configuration, is penetrate deep underground hardened bunkers in a single direct strike. A bunker like Site 81, built to 6,000 square meters with electromagnetic shielding and reinforced concrete, is designed to survive exactly this class of weapon hitting the surface above it. But the Khorramshahr 4 cluster warhead variant, which Iran has confirmed deploying in this campaign, works differently. It does not try to punch through. It splits open at altitude and scatters up to 20 submunitions across a massive dispersal radius. Ventilation shafts, external communications arrays, vehicle access points, emergency exits, all of the surface infrastructure that a buried facility depends on to function. That is what cluster munitions do to an underground command center. They do not kill it. They try to blind it, deafen it, and trap the people inside it. The Critical Threats Project confirmed that Iran has used several cluster munition warheads in its ballistic missile attacks on Israel since February 28th. The same analysis reported that the relatively poor accuracy of Iran's medium-range ballistic missiles, with a circular error probable of between 20 and 500 meters, means that direct strikes on hardened military targets have been largely ineffective. But a cluster munition detonating within that error radius above a buried facility is a different calculus entirely. And I want you to sit with this, because every line that follows is verifiable. The plan was for Site 81 and the Fortress of Zion to remain invisible, buried beneath a residential tower in a mixed civilian-commercial zone, concealed from satellite imagery, protected by military censorship, and never publicly acknowledged. The reality is that by October 2025, geolocation analysis using public U.S. Army contracting records, leaked emails from a former chief of general staff, and satellite image cross-referencing had pinpointed the facility's location to within 60 meters. Iran had this information. Its missiles have been aimed at this address since June 2025. The plan was for Israel's layered air defense network, Arrow, David Sling, Iron Dome, THAAD, to intercept every missile before it reached the Hakirya footprint. The reality is that Iranian ballistic missiles with cluster warheads struck 7 different locations inside Israel in a single 24-hour period on March 8th and 9th. At least one Israeli civilian was killed. Several others were injured. The cluster munitions scattered submunitions across dispersal zones that no point defense system can cover once the warhead has already opened. The plan was for Israel's military censorship regime to control the narrative around any strikes near the Hakirya, blocking cameras, delaying reporting, restricting journalists, and preventing any public confirmation of damage. The reality is that the same censorship that sealed the June 2025 Da Vinci strike for 2 weeks is now the primary reason Iran's claims about the Hakirya bunker cannot be authoritatively dismissed. Silence is not denial, and in an information environment where both sides know that, silence is a weapon too. The plan was for the Fortress of Zion to be the place from which Israel commands this war, secure, deep, invisible, untouchable. The reality is that IDF officers living inside that bunker and planning strikes on Iran from beneath Tel Aviv are operating in a facility whose precise location was publicly geolocated 5 months before this war began. The officers described, in their own words, published by Mariv, going home each evening and pretending they were not carrying the most classified military operation in their country's history. They called it living a double life. Tonight, the city above them has been absorbing missile strikes for 10 days. And the question Iran is asking with each wave is not whether the bunker can survive the blast. It is whether it can survive being found. Thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate your support. Join the discussion in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think Iran has successfully damaged the Hakirya command infrastructure? Or is the bunker deeper than any surface strike can reach? Do you think Israel's censorship is protecting its security or protecting a narrative? Please subscribe and like the video if you want to stay updated. And click the video on the screen to see another. I'll see you soon.